Welcome to my How Healthy Are You weekly educational podcast. My name is Dr. Thomas Brewer. I'm a PhD chemist and nutritional blood microscopist. Today is Monday, April 4th, 2022, and this is podcast number 121. It's going to be on heavy metal toxicity. So most of us think of heavy metals, mercury and lead, but there are a few more. And what happens with these heavy metals is we consume them little by little, and it weakens us gradually and continuously. It's pretty much invisible cellular damage, and it also decreases or suppresses our immune system and our thyroid function. In the end, it ages us, and it ages us pretty quickly. The common metals are arsenic, or at least toxic heavy metals, arsenic, cadmium, lead, mercury, and thallium. So those are the real common ones. These heavy metals are part of the Earth's crust, so we really can't get away from them. So we're always exposed to them in one way or another. An issue with these metals is babies and children are particularly vulnerable, meaning these metals cross the blood-brain barrier for children more efficiently than adults. So an extra concern. If we look at lead, one of the most common problem heavy metals, it enters our blood vessels, it damages the cells that line the blood vessels, and that leads to the hardening of the arteries and plaques. And so sometimes people's heart issues come from lead toxicity. Another really important metal is thallium, and what it does is it replaces the potassium in our cells. So this is somewhat similar to what happens when we are exposed to fluorine, chlorine, and bromine, and it replaces the iodine in our thyroid. So we have certain elements that need to be in our cells and need to be associated with an organ, and when they get replaced, that's what happens when organs fail. Now, there's a real unfortunate instance with thallium, and it's a real short-sighted move. The oil industry replaced lead in gasoline with thallium, and thallium is more toxic than lead. So very interesting what happened there. If we still look at thallium, it's very present in our soils, but what was discovered is if a farmer were to grow kale or green cabbage, it would essentially clean up the soil. It would purify the soil of thallium. Well, what does that tell us? If we consume kale or green cabbage, there's a very high risk that we're taking in large quantities of thallium. Now, mercury is another real common toxin, heavy metal. It builds up in our tissues over time, and a lot of this is linked to fish in the ocean and eating the larger fish. Now, some of us have mercury issues. It's just a ticking time bomb, and that's the mercury amalgam or the silver fillings. And if you still have those, well, those fillings are full of mercury. And when the filling comes out of your mouth, it should be treated as a hazardous waste. But most dentists don't do that. And a lot of people have been exposed to mercury and then have had serious mental issues and brain problems as a result of the mercury exposure when they had their fillings removed. So if you have a lot of mercury fillings, the chance is 100% you're not going to live your full life. Your potential life will be shorter, and that's very clear. Now, there are mercury-free dentists. I happen to know one in the Las Vegas area, so let me know if you want to know who that is. There should be someone in every area of the country. So this is a mercury-free dentist, and they know how to remove fillings. So that's someone to have on your list. The bottom line with all of these metals is no matter how clean you think your food or your environment is, you've undoubtedly been exposed to enough heavy metals to accelerate your aging. So let's start talking about what we can do. So what we want to do is detox these heavy metals, and essentially that's something we would do every day just through good habits. If your digestive system is healthy, meaning you're taking your enzymes, you will most likely eliminate most of the metals you ingest through your stool and your urine. So a small percentage of the metals are going to be stored in your fat cells. We'll get to how to eliminate those in a little bit. But detoxing metals the wrong way can be dangerous because you end up moving the metals from, say, your fat tissues to your brain. One of the best ways to detox heavy metals is simply through using antioxidants. So one of the strongest antioxidants is glutathione, and it protects you from heavy metal damage. You make glutathione when you eat asparagus, so this would be the slightly cooked asparagus. Glutathione is a natural chelating agent, meaning it will grab the metals, it'll bind the metals, and then your body eliminates them. Now, glutathione is also helpful because it keeps mercury from entering our cells in the first place. So glutathione, really good antioxidant, something you can produce by consuming asparagus. So we make our own. It's hard to get enough of it. You can supplement or just be very proficient with your asparagus intake. Another one is known as alpha-lipoic acid, another good antioxidant. It'll help you chelate heavy metals. Some people take alpha-lipoic acid or ALA when they're diabetic because it assists them in metabolizing sugars. Now, ALA, alpha-lipoic acid, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and that's something we want to do when we're detoxing metals. One of the best supplements and the easiest for detoxing is just simple vitamin C. It's the world's best-known antioxidant, works great. You can get it from citrus or you can supplement with it. So vitamin C recycles used glutathione. So glutathione is one of the best antioxidants, and vitamin C allows us to keep using it. So that's what we want, is to keep the glutathione active in our system. Also, zinc levels are helpful for absorbing lead and cadmium. So what we want to do, and most people are already doing this, most people are supplementing with zinc anyway as a result of all the COVID-19 and immune system information. People are getting more interested in their immune system, and they know about vitamin C and zinc. Well, both of them are great to prevent your body from absorbing these heavy metals. Now, there is another one that I'm not very big on because you really need to be careful if you use this, and it's called activated charcoal. It's a real high surface area. It has a negative charge, so it will bind anything with a positive charge. So activated charcoal is really good if you know you have heavy metal toxicity or some sort of poisoning. It's very good with cadmium and copper and nickel and lead. Now, one thing activated charcoal will not absorb is mercury, and it's actually adsorbing, meaning it's just sticking to the surface. So if you're using charcoal, you want fine grade charcoal as opposed to normal grade. Some people take them as capsules, but the problem with activated charcoal is it also absorbs your prescription medication, and it will absorb your other supplements, just the nutrients in the body. I am not a big fan of activated charcoal unless you've really got some heavy metal toxicity. Another good way to absorb toxins is using chlorella. It's a type of algae. It binds well, and especially this one works with mercury. So if mercury is an issue, I would look at chlorella. a lot of people will just eat chlorella when they have fish because fish is one of the main sources of mercury toxicity, assuming you've gotten the fillings out of your mouth. So having chlorella when you eat fish is a good thing to do. There's something known as modified citrus pectin and even other fibers. So the original method of detoxing harmful substances, when I mentioned about just digesting your food and eliminating them, it's really your gut and fiber that helps us eliminate these heavy metals. There's two kinds of fiber. The insoluble fiber, well, you can't digest that, so that sort of cleans out our system. But the soluble fiber feeds the good bacteria in our gut, and so these are the probiotic bacteria. So when you feed them, it's actually a prebiotic feeds the probiotics. And if you have good gut bacteria, that helps you detox. It goes back to the first thing I said. If your digestive system is healthy, you will eliminate most of these heavy metals. The big gun or the big chelation therapy technique is known as EDTA. It stands for ethylene diamine